Welcome to a new video. It has been some time since I have posted any videos or videos related to military and especially Fil Med FMTB. About a year ago, so yes, almost a year ago, I graduated Fil Med West, so FMTB West. There wasn't much information out. There wasn't really any information to find, especially here on YouTube. So that is why I'm creating these. So if there's any questions, any comments, any additional information that I missed throughout these videos, be sure to comment down below. Let's just go ahead and get started. I have 5 things that experience, and then give some basic information or where you can find the information to help some of you guys out that may be in the same position that I was going through Fil Med. So you just received your orders for Fil Med West, and this can be East as well. So there are a few things that need to happen in a timely manner as soon as you realize or you find out that you do have orders to go to the Fil Med. First thing that you need to do is make sure that you read your orders entirely. That means take a look at the date of when you're supposed to be transferring away from your current command, even if you're in A school. What date should you be leaving? Secondly, you should be looking at the date that you should be checking into Fil Med. Everyone has different dates for when they're supposed to be checking in, so make sure that you pay attention to that. So those are probably the 2 important things when it comes to you getting your orders. You usually are going to need or require to do like an HIV draw. Make sure that is up to date. Make sure that your PRT is up to date and that you passed the last one. And also there's probably going to be some type of operational screening, making sure that you're fit for full to go through Fil Med. And normally those have like a time sensitive within like 30 days of you getting your orders. Don't quote me to it, just make sure that you take a look at your orders entirely. Make sure that information, that you know that information, it will be asked of you, and for you to keep those orders or for you to be able to fulfill those orders, you will need to make sure that you knock out things accordingly in the certain times that they're supposed to be done. Also, if you have any dependents, make sure that they're on those orders. If they're not, you need to reach out immediately and have those orders modified so that your dependents can transfer with you. In most cases, your dependents should transfer, or if you're already in the general area, they'll just stay where they're at. But just make sure that they're also in those orders. Second thing is making sure that you're physically fit. FMTB requires a lot out of us physically and mentally, but physically, it can be a shocker. It does end up being a shocker to a lot of us, especially if you are already in the fleet and you're not doing regular weekly PT sessions that are kind of intensive, or just working out in general. So making sure that you're able to adhere to the PFT standards, obviously CFT and the PRT standards. So that should be like the baseline. Those 3 fitness tests should be fairly easy for you to pass. Not saying that you're going to hit excellent or the highest scoring numbers, but just making sure that you're able to run up to 3 miles. Have your actual main pack. You'll be running with it. You'll be running with jerry cans, running with ammo cans, running with litters. There might be times you'll be running with people on your back, and it starts early in the morning. And then usually we will do some type of PT session early in the morning, and then we'll go to school. They may even do a couple other little sessions throughout the school day. Every single time we went out to the field, you're looking at least an hour to 2 hours of, we call it getting beat, but it's pretty much just some small dose of physical training that's happening, whether that's doing sit-ups, some type of crunch, some type of bear crawl, some type of plank, or anytime that you're in the field, you're usually running from point A to point B. There's not too much walking. There will be like an obstacle course that you have to complete. Very intensive when it comes to breathing, your physical stamina, your physical activity level, because you go from doing a 6-mile, 8-mile ruck to 2 or 3 hours of like a break so you can have lunch, change your socks, and then we go into a very strenuous physical activity after that. So just making sure that you're physically fit, making sure that you are attempting to get into standards before you get to Fil Med, whether it's Fil Med East or Fil Med West. Typically within that first week, the second week, you are taking the PRT. If you do not pass that PRT, you have one more attempt to take it. And if you do not pass that second attempt, you can be dropped from going through Fil Med, or you will be recycled to the next class, which could be 2 to 3 month wait, depending when that next class starts back up. If you go to the Fil Med website, there is a PT preparation benchmark I have here that I printed out whenever I was just trying to gather some information. So pretty much it has the Navy PRT. It also has male, female, mile-and-a-half run, push-ups, sit-ups. It has the PFT for the Marines, and it also has the CFT standards as well. So you can find this on the website for FMTB. So just make sure that you take a look at that. Again, it has times that you should be running when it says like you should be able to run a 3 mile and an 8-minute mile pace. Everyone will be at different levels. There will be people straight out of A school. They went from boot camp to A school to Fil Med. There will be ones like us that have been in for 10 years that are going through Fil Med. There will be people that have been in 16, 18 years that are now getting sent through Fil Med as chiefs, senior chiefs. So just make sure that you're able to run. Make sure that you're able to carry weight and still briskly walk or slight jog. But you just have to make sure that you are prepared for it so that your body doesn't get in too much of a shock, because that is one other way that a lot of people fell out. A lot of people get dropped. So again, make sure that you are physically fit. Make sure you're preparing for the months that you will be through Fil Med, and then on to your next command, Greenside Command, usually for most of us. So if you're going division, it's going to be even worse than Fil Med with continuous PT. If you go through battalion, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 times a week. Not too crazy of PT, but just make sure that you're prepared to PT, especially with the Marines. When you go through Fil Med, you do not get a sponsor, or in the most recent cases, you do not get a sponsor leading up to you going into Fil Med. So a lot of that is going to be on to you to make your way where you're supposed to be in the time that you're supposed to be there, looking at your orders, and also just Googling the Fil Med website. I went a few days ahead. I had like almost 40 days of leave before I checked in. So I already came up to Camp Pendleton, drove around that 21 area, tried to spot where it was at so that I knew well ahead of time where the schoolhouse was located. So I will put a map up on the screen that will kind of help. Because there are a lot of like buildings, unmarked buildings, or if you're not used to driving around base, especially Marine bases, it can be very confusing. So make sure that you know where you're supposed to be at. Make sure you know when you're supposed to be there. And just know that you will probably, most likely, will not receive a sponsor just because there's so many people coming from so many different directions. And the schoolhouse just doesn't have that much staff to sponsor everybody that's incoming. Next thing would be, where is it located? So you have Fil Med West, Fil Med East. Those are the 2 schoolhouses that you're going to do Fil Med through. They both run very similar programs. I believe East kind of does a template from West, so West may do some new things that East is going to pick up, or West might test a different curriculum for a small piece of it, and East will eventually adopt that or pick that up. I think that's kind of how the process works, but across the board, it's going to be the same curriculum, has a little bit of Marine knowledge, history, ranking structure, and the type of equipment that we were going to be using with the Marines. And then on the Navy side, there's going to be a lot of your TCCC, trauma type medicine, life-saving skills, that kind of stuff that we will be going over. It's a test out, so I believe every week, at least every week to every other week, you have 1 to 2 quizzes that you have to pass. And we have early mornings that usually start with PT. After that, we go to the schoolhouse. We stay at the schoolhouse pretty much the entire day. Some days, I believe on like field days, you may get out at like 14:30 so that you can head back. You can get dinner, and then you can field day the barracks. So the barracks are where you'll be staying at. It is open bay barracks. So if you've never been open bay, that's pretty much like the boot camp style was. The racks in Fil Med West are a lot taller. So if you're up on the top rack, you will find out real quick. It's kind of challenging to swing up there because they're higher than the ones we had at boot camp. But it is open bay. There's typically over 100 of us, I want to say, that's in a platoon. And Fil Med West, we had 3 platoons until you do CASAS, which is like the test out, hands-on, out in the field, TCCC type of scenario. We lost, I think, about 14 people that got dropped to the next class. And if that was their second time, then they got dropped from the course. So the failure rate or the injury rate, people not making it through Fil Med, is surprisingly a lot higher than I imagined it being. This is not one of those courses that you can easily pass or just show up and kind of get pushed through. You will have to perform physically, mentally. You will have to go through the curriculum and pass each section. And then especially when it all leads up to CASAS. So CASAS is like a hands-on test out scenario where you have your med pack on, you have a patient that you have to take care of, you have your security that goes out with you, and you have to treat that person the way that we have been trained, or the way that we've been taught through the Fil Med curriculum. So as soon as you get onto the scene, see if your scene is safe, see what kind of injury your person has. Each scenario is going to be different depending on kind of how many attempts that you've gone. I think you get 5 to 6 attempts. Surprisingly, a lot of people do fail this section. So out of everything when it comes to Fil Med, it all leads up to your CASAS assessment out in the field. That is your bread and butter. That is going to be your pass or fail of going through Fil Med. So doing the little quizzes, doing the little tests throughout the week, you can also fail those. If you fail twice, then you get dropped back. But if you do pass all of those and you get you break under stress, or you start overthinking how the scenario needs to go, how the scenario works, you can end up getting rolled back or just disenrolled from the Fil Med curriculum. So make sure that you're taking the time they give you on the weekends, especially to study with other people. You will have like a fire team that you're going to go through and do your CASAS assessment with. Practice with those people, help those people out. If you're really knowledgeable in a certain area, help somebody out so that they can pass as well. But yes, that's one of the surprising factors that kind of opened up my eyes. It's easy to fail when it comes to the medical side of things. And it's also easy to get rolled back or to fail Fil Med by just getting injured. Shoulders, hips, knees. So be very careful. Make sure, again, that you're physically fit. Make sure that you're already kind of stressing your body out with runs, push-ups, working out in the gym. If that's something that you haven't done or you're not keen on doing, make sure that you get ahead of the ball. So that leads me to my last, was Fil Med easy? And that is a yes and no answer. I would say no, because it is it's a 180 from what I was used to, especially if you've been blue side, hospital, clinic, or if you're straight from A school. It is going to be a shock, a culture shock for you. Intermixing into the Marine lifestyle, into the high tempo, the demand that is when it comes to the physical aspect of it. It's not just going to the gym, lift as much as you can. It's like functional fitness, but it's also to a degree of life-saving mindset, right? So you're moving an actual body that can be 200 to 300 pounds with gear on it. You're also carrying a med bag that can be between 20 to 45 pounds. You're carrying a main pack. You're running with it. You are carrying a rifle as well, so you don't have one hand, or you're rucking for 4 miles, 6 miles, 8 miles. So there's just a lot of things that are all happening at once. Plus you're needing to study. Plus you're needing to get rest. We still stand watch at the barracks when we're not out in the field, and when we're out in the field, you stand watch. It's a rotating watch that you have out in the field once bivouac or like the night status happens. So, if you are someone that has dependents, or if you are not a single individual that you have family or in that area, you can request to be a brown bagger, meaning that you do not have to stay in the barracks. Once they break everybody for the night and the Liberty Book comes out, you're able to go home. So for some guys, that was over an hour drive if they lived in San Diego, Temecula, or if they lived any other area than around Camp Pendleton itself. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. You can stay in the barracks. You will have a rack. You will have a locker. And it's up to you if you want to drive home every day. At the end of the day, sometimes it might be around 6:30 in the evening. It can be a little bit later than 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night by the time you're leaving base. And you have to be back by 4:30 to muster before breakfast, things like that some of those days. So just keep that in mind. It will be very taxing, mentally taxing, physically taxing. And yeah, it's just it can be a whole new beast. So for some people, it can be easy. For most people, it will be a challenge, whether it was a mental challenge or a physical challenge. It will end up being some type of challenge for sure. So that's pretty much it. These are the 5 things that I think would be a good start for this video, good start for this series about Fil Med in general. So if you have any other comments, questions that you want to have answered, make sure you leave those down in the comment section below. But until then, I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.